And we've been hearing from Executive Vice President of Unilever, Mr. Yao Nsako, having been making his remarks at the International Advertising Association Africa Rising Conference. And he's been making comments as in marketers building a future for ready brands. And marketers must choose to be on the side of regenerating change. And ahead of that you are here on JoyNews Desk, and we'll be continuing with the headlines. Former Trade Minister and key contender for the NPP flag bearership, Alan Kwadwo yet officially communicates his withdrawal from the contest to the party. More as he promises to announce his future plans in the coming days. We have details of his withdrawal and the possible implication for his political career as well as the new patriotic party. Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly keeps traders occupying a weak commercial building in the Central Business District to vacate the facility for demolition due to its risky nature. And on Climate Focus today, we tell you about the significance of the African Climate Summit on warming the globe. Stay with us for details and more, plus business. The new Patriotic Party says former Trades and Industry Minister Alan Kyerematen is yet to officially communicate his withdrawal from the NPP flag bearership race to the party. Deputy General Secretary Haruna Mohammed says all is set for today's balloting for the main election in November. Alan Kyerematen pulled out of the contest, citing intimidation of his agents. He also said the race is deliberately being skewed to favor one of the candidates. Maxwell Agbagba has more in this report.
Rumors of Alan Kyerematen's withdrawal from the NPP flag bearership race have filled the air, with many dismissing the claim. Political marketing consultant Professor Kobe Mensah is equally surprised by the decision of Alan Kyerematen to withdraw from the race.
I don't think that quite a number of us, especially those political watchers, had actually anticipated this coming. It's a huge excitement to the process.
However, spokesperson for the Bawumia campaign, Nana Kumia, seemed to have anticipated this move.
We believe it's a good step that Honorable Alan Kyerematen has taken.
Spokesperson for the Alan Kyerematen campaign, Yabuabina Samoa, says the decision should be seen as a courageous act.
Mr. Kyerematen is not going to deny himself to the people of Ghana. He said that he will consult, and after consultation, he will come out and define his role.
Deputy General Secretary of the NPP, Haruna Mohammed, says the party is yet to be formally informed.
We have not officially received any communication from Mr. Alan Kwadwo Kyerematen.
While we await an official communication from the party on Alan's status, we ask what are the implications of his withdrawal from his party. Now, Dr. Bernard Tutubuahin is a political science analyst joining us to share some thoughts on this development. We're grateful for his time here, sir. How good or bad is this move by Alan? Was it even a good decision to make at this time?
Good morning. I think that his decision to quit or to withdraw didn't sit well. And the reason that has been given so far, as I said, no one can actually blame him. And so that he could probably have understood the terrain that you have to serve as a politician. And what it means is that politics is a game. And so the game that we are playing, we should probably understand it. And they also probably want to agree with it.
Dr. Boahin, I'm finding it difficult to hear you. Can you please reposition yourself and speak up a bit for us, please?
Okay, please give me 2 minutes. I am left to sit down. Yes, I come.
And so we've been listening to Dr. Bernard Tutu Boahin. He's a political science analyst who's been sharing some thoughts about Mr. Alan Kyerematen withdrawing from the NPP flag bearership race. Whether it is a good decision or not, we wait to see, but then we'll be getting responses from some political parties or analysts on his decision. To our next story until we get Dr. Tutu Boahin back on the line. The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has asked traders occupying a weak commercial building in the Central Business District of Edum to vacate immediately. Structural investigation conducted by the KMA on the building indicates weakened concrete and exposed tensile supports, which are key to the building's stability, despite replastering and painting. The Assembly has given tenants 5 days ultimatum to vacate the building for demolition. Nana Boachi Yadom joined an inspection of the structure and has filed this report.
The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly, after conducting an investigation on the 2-story building located at the Central Business District, concluded that the building is not fit for habitation. Most horizontal structural members are worn out, revealing rusted reinforcement and poorly exposed to the environment. The structure could fail to withstand certain stresses. Metropolitan Chief Executive Samuel Pine says after its structural investigation, it has identified that the building is defective and inappropriate for occupation.
The building right behind us is a very defective building. When they started development, it came to the notice of the Special Planning Committee, and we commissioned our officers to do some tests on it. Apart from that, the owner of the properties also commissioned some structural engineers to work on it. And the report suggests that yes, it's a very defective building which can collapse at any time.
Tenants have been asked to vacate the structure ahead of a planned demolition exercise.
To the occupants of the shops last Bay, and they're still not back in, and therefore we came here today to give them a final warning, and that from Monday, if they've not moved out, we're going to barricade the place and make sure we don't experience any catastrophe. Some of them are willing, some are, the usual Ghanaian attitude that recalcitrant. But when we start enforcing the decision of the committee, then they will understand the enormity of that issue.
Head of the Physical Planning Department of the KMA, Ajinim Boating, says with any little pressure from occupants, the building could collapse.
The building is defective, and with little stress, it can collapse. When I say little stress, I hope you know, with little stress, with little pressure, the building can collapse. This came to our attention when we saw the applicant doing some renovations on the building. Our officers came to site. We impressed on him to submit his drawings. He submitted the drawings. We came to site to check. The metro engineer investigated the building, and it came to the conclusion that the building is defective and it's not fit for purpose. The best the owner can do is to demolish and raise up a new building or develop new building. But he didn't mind us, so we asked him to go and get his own engineers to do the same investigation. He said his engineers, whom he paid, came with the same results, that the building is defective and with little stress it will collapse.
Traders occupying the building and others plying their goods on pavements have been asked to vacate.
This is supposed to be a car parking lot. Sanya ya idea no. If you check
engineers from the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly have determined that per their structure investigation, which involves a visual inspection, a minimal non-destructive test, this building right behind me is weak. They have said that per some of the investigations carried out, columns and beams here are not clearly positioned. They've asked tenants occupying this building to vacate the structure within 5 days. From Kumasi, my name is Nana Boachidankwa Yadom, reporting.
Residents of Kalio and other surrounding communities in Nadoli Kalio district fear they may be cut off from the rest of the region if government delays in coming to their aid. Portions of the road which have been washed away by heavy downpour 2 years ago remain fixed. Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafik Salam has more.
The One Nadoli Highway links 8 municipalities and districts in the region from Wa to their various capitals. Simply put, the lives and survival of the people largely hinge on the highway, and it was threatened last Saturday by heavy downpour. Assembly member for Keleo East Electoral Area, Christian Nenken, explained further.
The rain started somewhere around 11 to 12 thereabout in the night, and it rained for over 3 hours. So when we woke up, we realized that part of what the highway trunk has been washed off due to what the downpour that happened in the community. Typically, you can see that parts of the road has been chopped off or has been washed off, and it has affected some portions of irrigable land that we used to do irrigation for what other agricultural purposes. So it has what eroded most of what the lands in what those side of the land.
Behind me is one of the farms that was completely destroyed by the downpour. I'm wondering how the farmers will be able to have access to the farms because the whole area is inundated with water. Several acres of farms and produce got submerged and completely destroyed by the heavy downpour. Owners of the farms look on helplessly.
So as we speak currently, people who use the farm, their crops or their plants have been washed away. So they have nothing on what? The land again.
They have fears that they could be cut off from the rest of the region if the road is not fixed before the next heavy rain.
That is our worry for now, because if there is any downpour again, there is a likelihood that the whole road will even be washed off, not part of it again, because looking at the intensity of what, the erosion or the eroded part, when there is any rain again, we are fortunate that since then up to now, there has not been any major or any rain again. So we are praying that
it is a rain that I haven't seen for years. And as a result of that, over 50 meter stretch of the road has completely been destroyed. The Upper West Regional Minister in the company of some officials of the Ghana Highways Authority were here to see things for themselves. Acting Upper West Regional Director of the Ghana Highways Authority, Engineer Benjamin Atta, conducted the minister and his entourage around portions of the road considered to be a death trap.
In the water. So if the pressure that comes with it, the intensity is high, so it washes the edges. I think the intensity is very high. There was some pitching that was done to take care of, but unfortunately, because of the high intensity, so it was able to wash the things.
Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali disclosed that the project will be awarded to 3 contractors for execution.
By the close of this week, the contractors will be on site. We are looking at 3 contractors, PNW, Ghanem, Maripoma, and Askar. So once the documentation is ready, any of these 3 that is ready and willing to be on site will come and then hand over the site to them. But in the meantime, we would employ on to ensure that people comply with the markings that we have put here so that we don't endanger the lives of motorists as well as pedestrians.
Dr. Binsali also used the opportunity to assure the public that the Serepere Highway that was destroyed by floods 2 years ago have not been abandoned but will be permanently fixed by Chinese contractors.
Plans are far advanced for work to commence on 26 kilometers of this portion of the route. This side, what we are talking about now is a temporary measure, but what will happen in future will be a comprehensive work that will be done by a Chinese company. So that will be done very soon. It's 26 kilometers.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam, Keleo.
Africa's voice on climate change has been elevated this week in Kenya's capital, Nairobi. The UN Africa Climate Week is holding alongside the inaugural Africa Climate Summit under the theme Green Growth and Climate Finance for Africa and the World. On climate focus, Kofi Ejudomfe reports on the commitments to deliver concrete action for Africa.
Voices of grassroots groups and climate activists from across Africa have been high in Nairobi this week. They are holding leaders to account to deliver concrete climate action and plans to address the continent's pressing needs. The African youth also say they no longer want to be observers. Elizabeth Wathuti represents the African Youth Climate Assembly.
As representatives of the African Youth Climate Assembly, to underscore the urgency of addressing climate change and its profound impact on Africa's youth, our declaration, the African Youth Climate Declaration, reflects our commitment to harness the power of our youth to drive meaningful change. The African Youth Climate Assembly's vision is rooted in inclusivity, resilience, innovation, and the conviction that young people are one of the biggest resources that Africa is endowed with. We seek to elevate youth participation and inclusion in climate governance, forging pathways towards sustainable development and green growth. And we urge you, our esteemed leaders, to join hands with us in this endeavor.
The reality of the climate crisis has dawned on Africa, a continent that has both a stake and interest in solving the climate change challenge. Africa faces severe climate-related challenges, including drought, desertification, wildfires, floods, and increasing cyclones, leading to displacement, migration, and food crisis. It has been estimated the continent loses up to 15% of its GDP per capita annually due to the impacts of climate change. The Africa Climate Summit in Nairobi, Kenya has focused on delivering climate-positive growth and financing solutions for Africa and the world. Summit host President William Ruto of Kenya says the event cannot be business as usual.
An opportunity-oriented focus on climate action is the engine for propelling Africa into a realm of stability and prosperity, elevating us to middle-income status and beyond. This context is precisely what sets this climate summit apart from others. It aims to unite us across neighborhoods, across sectors, across institutions, local, international, across country borders, across continents, and across generations. It is because we all have a shared stake in the Earth's ability to sustain life that we must envision together a future that embraces the values of equality, human security, and shared prosperity.
The Africa Climate Summit is a unique opportunity for governments, private and multi-sector partners to join together in pledging their contributions to urgent climate action. The event falls under 4 thematic areas: climate action financing, green growth agenda for Africa, climate action for economic development, and global capital optimization. African governments are expected to prioritize the needs of the people and deliver adequate measures to address the climate crisis. Ghanaian climate activist Kenneth Nana Amoaten says there is no time to wait for anyone to take action.
It's a time that we need to rise up to the occasion as African citizens and government, and that we need to take a destiny into our own hands and make sure that Africa change the narrative, because it's high time that an African we depend on foreign donors and depend on a lot of people blaming people on the problem of Africa. Yes, it is true that we contribute only 3 to 4%, but it is time that we take the local initiative that could be able to help Africa develop our carbon cover, plant trees, the local solutions that will help Africa develop.
Taking climate action will cost money, and climate finance remains topical in the global climate talks. Simon Steele, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, has emphasized the need to operationalize climate funding arrangements at COP28.
We must address finance. Climate action, just like everything else in life, costs money. Finance should be viewed in the context of mitigation and adaptation, in addition to all of it. COP28 will be a critical moment to hold the line on temperature rise at 1.5 degrees Celsius. The world needs to reduce emissions by 43% from 2019 levels by 2030 to achieve this. And the IPCC reports the impacts will be far greater at anything above this, especially in certain parts of the world.
African civil society has noted delayed climate action will be disastrous for an already vulnerable Africa. Mithika Winda is Executive Secretary of the Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance.
This summit should also convey a bold, unequivocal message from Africa that it is not a forum to end the industrialized countries to escape their historical responsibilities and transfer the burden of action to the victims of their actions, but a platform to once again renew our call to honor their commitments on deep and genuine emission reduction, adequate support to vulnerable, and support the communities at the front line of climate crisis.
The Nairobi Declaration is expected to be adopted as a call to action to end the summit. The collection of the commitments will set a new African-led surge of action against climate change. For JoyNews, Kofi Edudumfe reporting.
And that's all for News Desk. We'll be back at midday. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. I am Amisi Nyamiche Thompson. See you.